What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the first ever edition of the Great Wall of Knowledge. And I just love that.
Let's go.
Isn't that sweet? We got former Green Bay Packer Mike Wahle and myself here. Mike, how we doing?
I'm doing great now. I love that.
The Great Wall of Knowledge. You can thank Everest for that one.
Yeah, that's solid. That's that. So my parents and my wife and like when they had West Coast games, they used to put together these Walls Block Party T-shirts, but it was like it devolved into like just a picture of like me and then like a bunch of dudes getting drunk, because they were tailgating. But I was that like Walls. I was like Block Party, but Great Wall of Knowledge, man. That's fantastic.
It's the wall party. That's what
Confucius say. Yeah, I love it.
Good stuff, man. Well, I'm looking forward to a weekend of football here to see who's coming to Lambeau, divisional round. Before we get there, let's do a quick recap of Sunday's game against the Lions. Obviously, Rodgers and the starters were out there to start. Bakhtiari, Myers among those starters, which is awesome. I was glad to see them out there personally. Stay the course as far as dressing, playing rather than having 2-3 weeks of rest. What do you think of Coach playing the starters and playing them for as long as he did?
I thought it was critical that. So I've fondly called that the fourth preseason game.
Yep.
Right, but I thought the Detroit Lions game was critical for us because of the injuries that we potentially had coming back on the offensive line. And then, so the first part is you get Bakhtiari back and immediately you're just like, I kind of liken it to, we've had these really good young group of players playing, right? Yeah. And Josh has been there. And I would say like, Josh is like a really good German Shepherd, right? Like he's done a great job. But then like Bakhtiari came back and it's like your 220-pound Kane Corso showed up. And it's like, oh, like everybody feels better because he's so like he's just I use the term force multiplier because there's the work that he does on the field that's better than the next guy, like his value over replacement. But then there's the confidence and the demeanor and everything that he brings that resonates not only with like John Runyon Jr. or Mercedes Lewis or DeGuara, the guys playing next to him, but Aaron Rodgers, and then because of Aaron Rodgers, therefore everybody else on the field. So he's a very, very special player. It was great to have him back. And then Josh Myers coming back, even though he's a rookie, you can tell the guy's an absolute unit, man. He's going to be an all-pro in this league. He's like Corey Lindsey Part 2 to me. Yep. And he's definitely an upgrade and a significant, as well as I think those guys have played. Like he's a significant upgrade from Patrick, and then moving Patrick over to right guard. Now you have like double physical presence at the guard position with Runyon Jr. and Patrick going over there. So like you have Billy Turner got off the schneid today. It looks like he's going to play. Like Billy Turner, yeah. I mean, I'm just like so excited to see that line at full strength, minus Jenkins, of course, but like I guess full strength to where we've been this year because. Right. God, there's no holes in the offense now. There's nothing where you can point to and be like, well, JPP might come in here and beat us up again. Nope, not this year.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah, things are. It looks like things are gonna be different. So I'm thrilled about it. And the other thing is too, when you look at like defensively, we've had some breakdowns the last couple of weeks, and even like the first play of the game, you see Savage like takes a bad angle, misses a tackle again. You're like, all right, well. You get all that stuff and you get to kind of take a measure of what's going on. And I think having that bye week now and essentially being able to go back and have like maybe a fundamental week.
A little self-scout.
Yeah, where you just kind of get back to the fundamentals like tracking, tackling, like combo tackling, like understanding your reads so you're not getting beat on trick plays and whatnot, like eye discipline. Like that's all actually super valuable. And it's just perfect time to do it because you just go right into the playoffs and kind of have to deal with. So I mean, you really got to feel good about where they're at right now going into this.
Playoff. I'm absolutely pumped. Everybody's getting healthy at the perfect time. Seems like we're going to get all these guys back. Obviously, we'll dive in here in a little bit. I hear you, though, as far as playing them. I think it was nice to see them out there together for the first time in a while. And obviously, at the very least, give Bakhtiari and Myers some snaps to kind of, knock some rust off or whatnot in a game that didn't matter as opposed to the playoffs where, I mean, more than I do, every snap means that much more. Last thing before we hop into the potential opponents for the divisional round, I, for one, didn't take too much away from Jordan Love's performance. He played a half and doing that, with mostly backups. You got any takeaways from his performance on Sunday?
Well, like I said, I thought it was a preseason game for us.
Right.
The one thing I would say is, and there's no way to not sound like a jerk, but anytime you watch anybody who might replace Aaron Rodgers, it makes you want to go like, okay, Aaron, what percentage ownership of the team do you want to stay for 4 more years? Because
here's a blank check.
Yeah, it's not. I remember when Brett left, and everyone's like, I mean, I had friends on the team still, and they're like, dude, don't worry, like we're gonna be good, Aaron. Like this kid is unbelievable. It's not the same thing. And Aaron's better than Brett was,
right?
And you know what I mean. So it's like this is an insurmountable deal, and I can't imagine looking at Jordan Love right now and seeing the pieces you have in place around Aaron Rodgers and going like, yeah, I think we're just going to go ahead and go with this guy and mortgage everyone in the building's entire future on somebody not named Aaron Rodgers if we can all avoid it. Like, I just can't imagine that. And he could be a great player. He could have a great career, but like right now,
this ain't going to happen. No, I'm with you. I personally I'm going to hold off on Jordan Love stuff to the offseason because, like you said, he's replacing Aaron Rodgers. So there's always going to be something because he's one of, if not, the greatest ever. No one's going to, surmount to what he's doing. Especially right now, this year, what was last year? 48-5 touchdowns, interceptions. This year, 37-4. Just ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous stuff. So
you look at a guy like Jordan Love, though, and you start thinking, like, you do this as like a thought experiment, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, let's get rid of the 4 or 5 best quarterbacks in the league that you absolutely trust no matter what.
Yeah.
Right? It probably kind of stops like Dak Prescott's. I would probably throw him in that category, and then I'd probably cut it off.
Yep.
So whoever you have in front of that, but then you have all these guys, and you just don't know, like Kirk Cousins for Carson Wentz, for Jalen Hurts, for what's Tua going to be like, and you start going like you start switching all these pieces, and you go, okay, well, is there anybody's going to say Jordan Love can't be one of those guys?
Hey, well, if Nathaniel Hackett goes to the Broncos, maybe he wants to take Jordan Love with him.
Yeah, but then like where it gets like really interesting to me now is, okay, if Carson Wentz another year of being deprogrammed and getting like Frank Reich, as his corner man for another year, they'll probably win that game. They're probably going deep in the playoffs because they have a great offensive line and running game. They play good defense, right? If they get home field advantage, like that's a tough place to play. So I can kind of close my eyes and see that. But a couple of these other teams, you start going like, well, Kirk Cousins for Baker Mayfield, like when you start doing all this, they're all the same. Like you're not going to win a championship with any of them.
No.
And so as great as the position is, and you throw Deshaun Watson in there, maybe in the top 5 guys too, if he's getting through all those legal troubles. But after like 5 guys, like I don't think you can win the Super Bowl with any of these other players. Like Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson are like the last 2 average quarterbacks to win a Super Bowl.
Right.
Everybody else has been pretty damn good, right? So it's like you start talking about, because all these coaches are moving around, you start trading all these guys out. It's like, well, maybe, and at least you don't really know what you have with Jordan Love. He might be more enticing than any of the people I just mentioned because you don't really know. And it's like, well, I might be able to take a chance. Yeah.
Obviously.
I don't know.
He's kind of got
trade bait.
He's got the scramble. Exactly. Trade bait. He's got the scramble ability. He throws those crazy balls, and a couple of years, maybe they can kind of mold them in what they want them to be. Look at us throwing that market out for everybody. I love it.
Well, listen, it really does make it like for me, it makes you stop and think, because you just saw the Dolphins guy get fired, and we're speculating, but I bet my mortgage that it was because of Tua, right?
Right.
They have a disagreement on whether or not he's the guy going forward.
Yeah. Yep.
So you just start thinking about like, okay, well, that he didn't want to tie his anchor to that quarterback, and you really still don't know what he is. Mm-hmm. And then you just start going like, well, God, who would you tie your anchor to? Like, I'm not Kirk Cousins. You don't know what Justin Fields going to have. Jared Goff, absolutely not. You start looking around like there's not that many good quarterbacks.
No.
Stafford's probably in that boat with everybody not named Darren Orlovsky. Like Stafford's probably in that boat as well. It's like, I don't know if I trust this guy to not screw up in critical situations.
And he started hot this year. Somebody was talking about, he was kind of in that MVP conversation when they were starting hot, and then you start, seeing him throw these interceptions, and it's like, man, that stuff. Yeah. It wasn't just in Detroit. He's kind of carrying that over, and it's too bad because I like
Detroit's like taking a bath in like grape juice, man. Like that stain's going to be on you for a while, man. Like it's tough.
No, I get you. All right, Packers 1 seed, home field advantage. You played in many playoff games for the Packers and also a few for the Panthers. Compared to last year's home field advantage, we had a limited number of fans. How much of an impact does a packed Lambeau have on a game?
Well, I think energy is important, and I think I think the home field team can feed off of energy. This is probably an unpopular opinion, but Lambeau's really not as loud as some of the other, especially like the dome places. It's not that hard to play.
Yeah, I go
right?
all the time.
I don't think for the opposing team it's really that hard to play. Like I don't think the crowd noise is that deafening or anything like that. But the atmosphere is a thing, and this sounds crazy because you're going into a playoff game. But a playoff game in January when it's cold with fans in Lambeau Field, which is the Yankee Stadium of football.
Yep.
There is a moment where players on the other team will kind of look around and go, "Man, am I really here? Like, is this really happening?"
Right.
And you can grab some dudes for like 4 minutes of a game, and that's all you need them for.
Yep.
Right. They'll check out for about 4 minutes. See me in about 4 minutes, man. I'll go score a couple touchdowns. So
exactly.
I think that does happen, right? And
oh yeah,
the COVID situation. I mean, it's always better. Listen, it's always better to play in front of fans, but you might get a little bit of that awestruck moment with a couple of these guys because of the environment. But as far as the difficulty playing there, I don't know how difficult it necessarily is.
No, I'm with you. I go to a few games every year, and yeah, it's a sit down crowd, unfortunately, especially for the gold package member seats. We're not going to get into that though. We're not going to get into that.
Is that the Milwaukee seats? Are those Milwaukee tickets?
Yeah.
I remember.
It's a bad. Sometimes it's a bad vibe. I've never been told to sit down myself, but that's become like a thing. People are making shirts with "Don't tell me to sit down" on the back of their shirts. That's kind of how. So, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. And
better than old Eagles Stadium when they had the sheriff's office underneath the seats, man. My parents used to go to like them, like Jets games, Giants games.
Oh.
Parents would be up in like the top bleachers when it was raining outside, going like, I don't know about these fans. It's pretty wild out here.
Nasty. So no, I'm with you. Last year we had 10,000 fans at Lambeau during the NFC Championship game. It was like 38 degrees. We end up getting that far in the postseason as far as the championship game. I'm pretty optimistic we will. Having a packed house, it being under 30, hopefully under 20 degrees, obviously creates a bigger advantage to the Packers as opposed to last year's. All right, we know for sure we'll play one of the following four teams 2 weeks: Rams, Cardinals, Niners, or Eagles. Before we go by each team, which one of these four teams is the best in your opinion?
Tom Brady's team.
Yeah.
Any team with Tom Brady on it.
We're not going to play them though.
What's that?
We're not going to play them though in 2 weeks.
If you're talking about, here's the thing.
The Bucs are the best in the conference outside of us. So
yeah, if you're looking at teams that like Philly and San Francisco, I don't like that matchup very much because I don't think the last couple of weeks we haven't been great against the run. You've seen some holes exposed. They both run the ball very well. They both have like Philadelphia is just this like tidal wave of humans coming at you all the time. They run the ball 40 times. Like they travel really well because of that. I can see them having success. And because we've been playing that shoe shell, because we've been trying to get home with four, like it's going – our safeties are going to have to make tackles, and one of them does, and the other one is 50-50, right? Yeah, it's just 50-50. So that's tough. Like that's a tough ask considering how many times they're willing to run the ball. Hopefully, if we play them, hopefully you put them in a position where they have to throw it, and you put them in a drop back situation, and maybe we have a better chance of getting home. And then San Francisco, like
they're hot.
Jimmy Garoppolo is one of those guys that he's a guy that we could be talking about in the same conversation, right? Where they have enough talent to fool a franchise for long enough where it's like you might go through a couple coaching staffs with, man, this guy can just get over the hump. He just looks the part, right?
Right.
And so he can have those games, but Deebo Samuel, their running game, like just having Trent Williams back next week is you'll see like this difference in the way that they play football because he's a scary human. Yeah. And the way they dominate the line of scrimmage. I think they have a good D line. They have a good linebacker crew. They have a good defense overall. So both of those teams could be good games. Like I'm actually, of all the teams we could play, like this sounds crazy, but I don't have a lot of time for the Rams. And I just think Dallas is going to pull a Dallas and not show up.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think the Eagles are someone to watch out for. Rams, I feel like it's comforting because we already beat the Rams and the Cardinals in the second half of the season. We beat the 49ers early on, and it was a super close game. We were in control the whole first half, let them score right before half, and they come out and score again. All of a sudden, it's a game. But that seems like so long ago, and each team is so not crazy different, but I mean they are different.
Definitely evolved. Yeah, they've definitely evolved.
They've evolved, so they're just different. To me, it's tough. Between those four, I would have easily said the Cardinals 5-6 weeks ago. But now it seems like, the Rams, Cardinals, Niners, they can all make a case for the best, at least of this group. After this weekend, we'll have a better idea, obviously. Let's start off things here with the Rams. They got Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, obviously among others. With our line coming back to form here, how do you think the Packers match up with the Rams defense?
Well, I think their best player is Aaron Donald. Second best player is Jalen Ramsey, and then Von Miller is not the same player he used to be. I think he's more of a name now than anything else. Like it's not that he's still an excellent player, but he's not a guy that you're game planning around by any means.
Leonard Floyd too, yeah.
Yeah, and Leonard Floyd is there's a lot of Leonard Floyds in this league.
Yep.
If Aaron Donald is on that team, Leonard Floyd is
taking two guys away. Right?
Yeah. So you don't look at Leonard Floyd and go like, man, I'm really worried about there. I can't block him.
Right.
So Aaron Donald is a guy that you're gonna have to game plan for, and you're always gonna have to. And they've seemed to have come up with a good game plan for him every time we play him, at least the last 2 times, right?
Right.
And so it's just a question of Jalen Ramsey, if they do play, and he's going to try to single up Devontae, he's going to make it personal. I know they moved him around a lot more this year and put him in the slot. They didn't necessarily make him travel on sides, but it would be interesting to see what that matchup looks like. And then we can, but you think with everybody else we have, we just feel like, listen, you can put Mercedes Lewis in, you can run the ball because we have 2 really good running backs that honestly, either of our running backs can be Pro Bowl running backs. They just kind of cannibalize their own numbers.
Right.
And so you have talent there. And then outside, Lazard's making plays. A healthy MVS can make plays. You have best receiver in football. Dewar busts out a 74-yard tight end screen all of a sudden. Mm-hmm. So and then you have the backside of the backfield. So you just feel like you can attack me. Feel pretty good about it. Ramsey just makes he just made another ridiculous play last week. Yeah. And if he makes a couple of those, all of a sudden it turns into a more of a defensive struggle.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Last time around, the matchup in the trenches was a big story, obviously, since we were shuffling our guys around on the offensive front. Now we got our guys back. It's going to be a challenge, but I think we're more than ready for it. Like you just said, you feel good about any way you go about it. The Rams, I know they play more of kind of a zone-based defense as far as where Jalen Ramsey is or isn't lined up. Is he covering Devontae? Is he covering his area? Regardless, I think Devontae won't have any issues getting open unless they throw one of those Ravens packages at him.
Yeah, he's just had a really special year, and they mix their coverages up for sure. They'll have situations where they'll go 1v1, but they also we get caught on TV sometimes talking about it's going to be this 1v1 matchup, but it's really not. You're absolutely right. The thing that you always worry about with getting guys back healthy and feeling good about it and having this week by week and everything is coaches overthink themselves. And there's always that worry where you go, I think we can 5-step drop Aaron Donald all day. I think we can do it inside, guys. And then just oh man, that was a mistake.
Next thing you know, it's a 3rd down sack.
Yeah, exactly. And you're looking like Justin Herbert. Hopefully I'm pulling up these 4th downs out of his backside. But as long as they keep stick to the game plan. Aaron has been doing a great job getting rid of the ball, play action passes, quick jet screens, everything's just bang, 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 bang. Not really giving Aaron Donald the opportunity to find success. That seems to frustrate their defense. That seems to frustrate him. And that's really kind of what you're looking for, I think, when you're trying to attack that defense. They've been scored on this year, so it's not out of the question.
Right. They're not a lockdown defense by any means. They got studs, but let's go to the offensive side. Big name they got back, Cam Akers in the running back spot. Then you got Stafford, Cooper Kupp, OBJ, Higbee, the veteran.
Higbee's a good player.
Yeah, he is. He's solid. And then the Iron Man, Andrew Whitworth at the tackle spot.
Dude, Andrew Whitworth. Listen, he's had an amazing career and everything, and he's playing at high level.
Rashad had his way against him the last time.
Yeah, he's got a bad pass set. He's just a mountain. If you stood next to him, he's ridiculously large. But he's got a bad pass set, and he turns his hips really fast. You can press him. You just got to keep doing it. It's just one of those deals where if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to win 4 or 5 times a game. It's just a question if Stafford gets rid of the ball. They've had a hard. Stafford sees the rush. We press the pocket really well. You just look back at the Tennessee game at how they got after the interior offensive line, both from a bull rush standpoint and then running TT games, and how Stafford saw that rush over and over. And it just makes you happy that we have Dean Lowry, bull rushing everybody, and Kenny Clark's inside. If Z comes back and all of a sudden you got Kenny Clark plus 3 defensive ends on the field, you just really feel good about that matchup if they get in a situation where they have to score a lot of points.
Yep.
OBJ is a phenomenal talent. It seems like he's kind of resurrected some of his career, at least the way that the perception of him, and he's having success down there. Cooper Kupp had an amazing year, obviously, And I don't think you're going to stop them, but I do think that pressure equals picks, and I think you can pressure Stafford, and I think he will turn the ball over, and that would probably be the difference in the game.
Yeah, you've seen the throws he's made the past few weeks, kind of forcing some things on OBJ or Van Jefferson in the middle of the field when he's triple covered. It's like, man, what are you doing? And obviously, they haven't had Cam Akers back there. They haven't had really anybody at the running back spot to really kind of.
They're not a running team. Like, they don't have the guys to run the ball.
Right. Like when Saffold left to go to Tennessee, that was
kind of their guy. That was their stud. And the rest of them are just they're good players. Left guard's a good player, but they're just more they're pass pro guys.
No, I'm with you. Captain Z, obviously his situation, we'll see what that looks like. But if he practices this week and next week, then I assume he'll play. Well, you just said a package with Rashawn, Press on the outside, Kenny and Zadarius on the inside, basically damn near unstoppable. Same goes for the defensive backfield. If Jair does come back, you got him, Stokes, Douglas, Savage, Amos. Savage, clearly the weak link there. Unfortunately, his year has just been tough. Seems like every week he seems to come down, in the flats to make a tackle, and it just isn't there.
Yeah, it's tackling is a skill that there's components to, and when you watch him, he has bad eye discipline. He tracks poorly, and he doesn't decelerate with his feet underneath him. We call it like feet in the phone booth. You don't want to get your feet really wide because you can't. Huh?
He just flies in.
Yeah. So, and maybe he thinks he's being taught to take his shot because there's help. But, usually when you're playing the defense that we play, it's predicated on your ability to get home with 4 and your alley players being able to make tackles. It's kind of a big deal. And so, the problem that we've talked about this, I think, all year with this team is when you're playing off and you're playing 2 shells or you're playing the 4 sky stuff and you're just coming up and making tackles. In the playoffs, you're going to find teams that are comfortable taking 5 yards a pop.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And when you find that team and you think like they're not going to make the mistake, they're just going to keep going down the field 5-10 yards a pop. And you can have a 14-15 play drive. Now you might have a problem because you have to get out of your comfort zone. And so it'll be interesting to see, what team that is that puts us, that potentially takes us out of the comfort zone.
Yeah, one team that directly comes to mind immediately, the Bucks. Brady's going to make all those throws. You're not really going to sucker him into a pick. I mean, I know he's thrown a bunch of pick sixes this year, a little more picks than what he's used to, but that's a team. Last year, first drive of the game, they converted like 2-3 third downs, and it just is like, man, we've been out there for 6-7 minutes, and then we go 3 and out, and then they're back right out there for another 6-7 minutes, and then all of a sudden you have one possession, and the game's already a 4th over, and it's like, man, what's going on here? Let's switch things over to Arizona here. Early on in the year, best team in the NFL. Undefeated, that is, until we went into their house on Thursday night, upset them without a lot of our guys. Kyler Murray was playing MVP ball at the time. And now they're kind of like we were just talking about earlier in the show. They're in the middle of the pack when it comes to the teams in the NFC playoffs. J.J. Watt's apparently coming back. DeAndre Hopkins might be coming back as well. James Conner, Chase Edmonds in the backfield, and Ertz at tight end. It's a really good team on paper. What do you make of this team overall?
I think you're absolutely right. They're a really good team on paper. If they have all those pieces in place, I think they're a really tough out. Like they might be the best team not named the Packers in the NFC if they have all those guys. Because J.J. Watt was playing at a really high level when he got hurt. Connors has been huge for him. D-Hop is, if Devontae's 1, D-Hop's probably 1A or 2.
Right.
As far as talent in the NFC is the wide receiver position. If you watch the Cardinals-Packers game from last time, A.J. Green, his unawareness lost that game for him. Like, Kyler Murray didn't lose that game for him. Kyler Murray's game for it. Now, there's some things about Kyler Murray and his body language and kind of what happens when he gets down. Yep. But in the playoffs and his ability to be elusive, his ability to scramble any direction and run and pass from any direction, like that makes it really hard to have a rush plan against a kid who can go anywhere. Like, it doesn't matter. You can break him out left, right, up the middle. Like, he's going to be successful. Mm-hmm. That's hard, right? And then you have to, because now you have to put a spy on him, and the game changes a little bit defensively. Their linebackers, what was it, Simmons? Mm-hmm. Good Lord. Yes, that guy is an absolute unit, man. I mean, what a freak of nature he is, and making plays all over the field. Buda Baker's a guy I had in high school. Like, he's an unbelievable nose for the ball. He's one of the smartest football players I've ever been around, even at a young age. Yeah. So I really like their team. Chandler Jones has always been one of my favorite players.
Mhm.
I like they got some inside run stoppers. Like it's a tough out, man. Like that's a really good game because everything's kind of strength on strength.
Yeah, I'm hoping the Rams beat them for that, for that case, because I'm with you. If they get rolling, they could be dangerous. Defensive side, they got some studs over there. You're just talking about Buda Baker, one of the best safeties in the league. Chandler Jones in the D line, as I said earlier. If J.J. Watt's back, geez, just another guy you kind of have to watch out for. First time around the Packers offense, they didn't have any issue really moving the ball down the field, without Devontae, MBS, or Lazard. How much does it mean if J.J. Watt does come back?
Well, I think it's huge. J.J. Watt, where J.J. Watt shows up more now than maybe his, back in the day when he was breaking pass or sack records and everything, is he as a run defender. A lot of times he's one of those guys. He's like almost like a junior Seau where they'll just kind of let him do his own thing every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And his ability to beat that first block or like slip inside a block and get in the backfield and either make a tackle for loss or make a running back redirect and lose momentum. He's really, really good at that, and he's really good at beating double teams. He's a little bit lighter, a little bit older now, so if you get a hold of him, you can move him. Mm-hmm. But he's just good for like that handful of plays where he's going to be in the backfield every week that other guys just can't do. So instead of just having that, let's just, for the lack of a better term, because they're all NFL players, like instead of just having a body there, you have a 3-time defensive player of the year there. Like that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, with a massive head on his shoulders and knows exactly what to do. I'm a big Badger fan, so I always love me some J.J. Watt. And at the same time, I'm glad the Packers didn't throw the house at him this offsea's because we've already got some beasts of our own. So thankfully,
you didn't need it. You definitely, I don't think you needed him, right? Like he ended up in the right spot for sure. I mean, for all parties involved.
Yeah. Let's turn the page to the Niners. Some may not want to face these guys in the rushing attack, but if you ask me, as we were talking earlier, they're dangerous. But I'm kind of welcoming I'm confident in this Packers team now. I'm welcoming the Niners of the league or the Bucks in the league to kind of, if we got to face them, then cool. I'm not going to be scared for the Packers. I'm going to be, hey, let's go out and take care of business. Something we haven't been able to do the past 2, 3, 4 years. Maybe the team doesn't think like this, but it'd be nice to take them out, obviously, after we had, those crazy losses over the last decade. Jimmy G, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, a name Packers fans know too well, George Kittle, in my opinion, probably the best tight end in the NFL from, blocking.
Oh, no doubt. Best tight end in the NFL right now.
And people always come out with Kelsey. I'm like, yeah, he's a great receiving tight end, but you're talking about tight end with that position.
Kelsey, they need a different designation for those guys because when it's 4th and 1, they take Kelsey out and they run behind Kittle. Like it's different, right? Mark Andrews, they run behind Mark Andrews, they take Kelsey out. It's a different position.
That's a great comparison. Yeah, Mark Andrews, George Kittle, they're different than Darren Waller and Travis Kelsey. I mean, they're just different types of tight end. But adding a great offensive line, good defense, and all of a sudden, they're a legit threat in the NFC. What do you make of Jimmy G in this offense? Are they a bad matchup for this Packers defense? What do you think?
I think Deebo Samuel's a bad matchup. Deebo Samuel reminds me of Steve Smith, the guy I played with in Carolina, and he's a bad matchup for anybody. And I would say of all the pieces that if you take out our abysmal special teams, you just focus on offense and defense. You would probably say that our secondary is where you're going, like, all right, we've got some young guys back there. Like, it's probably our weakness.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that dude, Deebo Samuel can flat out, he can get the ball anywhere. He can come out of the backfield, play wide receiver, play slot. You put the ball in his hands. It's like you can throw a hitch and watch him go, right? And he can just
one missed tackle and he's gone.
That's right. He's, it's just, and I, kind of the same way where he's very elusive. He's got some speed. And so I worry about that guy being able to, and then obviously as well as Devondre Campbell's played, if we're talking matchups with George Kittle, I think everybody's a bad matchup for George Kittle. Like I don't think anybody can cover him. We certainly don't have a safety that can cover him. Right. I don't know how you match him up. I don't know if you have to play zone specifically because of that. But we don't really have. I mean, Chris Barnes isn't covering George Kittle, and I don't think Campbell's covering George Kittle. So you just start looking at things like that. I think we can outscore him. I think we can stop enough times. I think Jimmy G will give him the bag. Right. It's listen. The whole game is going to be about does pressure equal picks in these playoff games usually, right?
And I think we should be in good shape.
Yeah, we've been able to get home, and especially with Z coming back, hopefully, you just look at it like we've been able to get home before, and that should be enough to win those kind of games.
Yeah, I'm with you. You talk about guys like Kenny Clark, Rashawn, Preston, Zadarius. And you'd think that stopping the run would be no issue. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, we were just talking about earlier, it's guys like Chris Barnes and Darnell Savage's like inability to fill those holes when they need to, that kind of just exploits our defense overall, I think.
Well, I think Chris Barnes has played a pretty solid year, right? He's had some big hits, make some big plays this year. But you do see, like, when Campbell didn't play last week, there's a difference in like that middle part of the field. It's a different game, right? It's a totally different game. And what happens is, let's just like big macro picture. If you're always playing like a 4-shell or a 2-shell, safety's not down, and you're kind of begging people to go the distance on you, well, what the other thing that means is there's only 6-7 players in the box, depending on what formation you're in. And, I tell people all the time, like, because, Amon Green and I do a podcast now, which is like, man, if you told us that we were going to play against 6-man boxes for like 90% of the game, we would be furious if you even threw the ball, because I guarantee we'd average like 7-8 yards a carry. Because it's not even fair. I mean, at that point, really, in a 6-man box, it's not even fair if you have a good line and running back.
Oh, yeah.
And so like when you talk about you have a good defensive line, so you shouldn't be able to run the ball. It's just tough because you can get double teams now, at least on 2 of those guys. You leave one for the quarterback, and it's like game over.
Yeah. No, that's good. Niner defense, they're filled with some studs. Nick Bosa, Reek Armstead, Fred Warner, excuse me. Yeah. That trio of guys, Nick Bosa, Reek Armstead, Fred Warner, the 2 studs in the D-line. And then Fred Warner, I mean, Rodgers said last year, best linebacker in the league. I'm not sure if I'd say he's the best, but he's one of.
Well, from a pass coverage standpoint, yeah, it's probably true, right? Like, we look at it different up front, but from a pass coverage standpoint, he's really, really good.
Yeah, and obviously Rodgers got the best of him in that game-winning drive. But man, you can't defend things like that. So it's not. I mean, it's not his fault, but you kind of weigh your things there. So yeah, I used to be a cornerback today, so I love the corner position, which is another reason why I love Jair. So I was kind of thinking about this earlier. You got Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey compared to Nick Bosa, Reek Armstead, Fred Warner. What trio would you take there?
Oh, Ramsey's so good. Like Ramsey's better than everybody else by like a sizable amount. Yeah. And Aaron Donald's better than everybody else by a sizable amount as well. And I love Armstead because he's Armstead's the guy that I hated playing because he's so the length, but he's got quicks and he knows how to use leverage. Like he's a really, really tough guy to block. But Aaron Donald's, I think I've said this before. Like, Aaron Donald's probably the best guy I've ever seen at the position. And Jalen Ramsey's, I mean, what is he all time? Like, he's got to be like top 3 or 4 all time. Man. He's unbelievable. So those other guys are good, but those 2 players are like, they're bona fide Hall of Fame stars.
Yeah, that's a trio I was going with all along. I love corners. I love corners like Jalen, the guy you hate not on your team, but when he's on your team, you just absolutely love him. So let's last but not least, a team. Although all playoff teams are dangerous, I don't think most people think the Eagles are the least dangerous of the 4. Maybe we were talking about it earlier. They pound the rock, and against a team like ours could be a bad matchup. Jalen Ramsey, second-year quarterback, uses his arm and his legs. That's something. This is an extra thing you got a game plan for, and let him to the playoffs the second year. Defensive side, you got Fletcher Cox in the trenches, one of the better corners in the league. Darius Slay. You think the Eagles have a shot to beat Tampa this weekend?
Everyone's got a shot. The thing with if you look at it the other way, like Tampa's got a lot of injuries you got to worry about. Losing AB, Godwin. You don't know if Fournette's going to be back. Like there's issues there. Is Gronk healthy? It looks like Gronk's healthy after last week. Yep. He's gonna be walking around with that new money holding him down though. So, but the Philly team, because this is hard to understand because we don't run the ball as much in the league because you score faster through the air.
Yep.
But if you can actually run the ball against Tom Brady, you're doing the things that you have to do to beat him. One, you keep him off the field. You're maintaining clock possession, and you're keeping the game close.
Yeah.
And you just want to give your offense or defense a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter. And when you have a guy like Fletcher Cox in the middle, and I forgot 97's name, but he's had a hell of a year as well, the interior defensive lineman, his partner. They've been both playing at a very, very high level. Like you said, Slay's been a great corner in this league, and you just don't know who's going to step up on the Bucs side. So, you always – like I'm never going to not bet against Tom Brady in a game that he's not playing the Packers in. But it would bother me to play the Eagles because that 40 rushes a game is like, that stands out as, man, these guys are really committed. And it just takes it's a different mentality. And it's hard to explain, but defensive players are not used to take the beating that 40 rushes a game feels like. They're just not used to taking that kind of beating, man. And your perception changes. You know, you come up here, you come up in the cold and you're getting beat up. In Philly, you're getting beat up and you're just rolling on a guy for 40 times during a game. And you look back in the backfield and the guy's like, I want another carry. It's a bad feeling from a defensive perspective.
It's defeating.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. All right, Mike, before we close it down, I'm going to run through the games this weekend. Just give me your winner for each one.
Okay.
All right, let's start with the AFC. Raiders at Bengals.
I hope Raiders. I think Bengals.
Okay. I'm with you. Bengals for me too. AFC again. Patriots at Bills.
Never bet against Belichick.
Steelers at Chiefs.
Chiefs by 1 million.
I'm hoping for upset.
Hey, Mike Tomlin might be coach of the year for that team to make the playoffs, honestly. Like, he's coach of the year material, but Chiefs by 1 million.
Yeah. NFC side. Eagles at Bucks.
Bucks.
Niners, Cowboys.
Niners.
That's mine too. Cardinals at Rams.
Cardinals.
Dang, yeah, that's. I'm spot on with you. I'm doing Bengals. Man, I want to pick the Bills, but
you should pick the Bills. But it's like how much money has Vegas lost on Bill Belichick?
Way too much.
Yeah, man.
Chiefs obvious pick. Eagles at Bucks. We just went over it. They got injuries. Is Mike Evans 100%? You don't know.
Right.
Going Bucks. I'm going Niners. That's an easy one for me, honestly. And then Cardinals. Yeah, as much as I want the Rams to beat them because I think we can take the Rams out as opposed to easier than we could the Cardinals. Those are my picks. All right, Mike. Thanks for coming on tonight. Any last words before we close it down?
No, man. Just looking forward to this weekend. The idea that you have three days of playoff football is exhilarating.
3 days of playoff football. Our team is in the playoffs, so we don't have to sweat this weekend. It's literally the perfect scenario. So good stuff. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Be sure to follow Mike on his social media platforms. I've included all links to his pages in the website in the description of this video. Enjoy the bye week. We will be back on next week to talk more about our opponent who we're facing in the divisional round. So thanks for watching. For Mike and myself, we'll catch you guys later.